Hi everyone, my name's Ben Schramm and I'm the Managing Partner of Cube Group. Along with my colleague Kelly Rose, over the next few minutes we'll be sharing with you some insights and some success factors in relation to the delivery of transformation projects. We know that many organisations have big transformation projects ahead, often within really short timeframes. With so many reform commitments on the horizon and fast approaching dates, we understand that there's often a lot to do in really compressed timeframes. And that means being smart about the way that you're designing and delivering transformation projects in ways that support each other to stand them up and deliver them well. We'll share with you our experience working with a whole range of different purpose-led organisations right around Australia, setting up transformations well and delivering them in ways that don't burn us out, that supports each other through challenging processes of change and does it well. We'll share with you the success factor itself, why we think that success factor is important when embarking on a transformation project, and then we'll ask you a probing question that we think you might like to consider in relation to that success factor on your transformation project. This first transformation key success factor is about your transformation laddering up to strategy. This is a common challenge that a lot of organisations face, particularly when they're midway through what we call the messy middle of a transformation, and things often start to drift. That's when you're getting busy and you can easily forget why you started the transformation in the first place. A way to guard against that right out of the gate, early on, is to make sure that we're clear about the scope of this transformation and how it's going to deliver on the broader strategic, policy and reform context in which we find ourselves. Something we need to be mindful of when we're laddering up is what we call the clash of frames. And that's where you have too many strategies, too many policies, too many reforms that we're trying to link to and ladder up to at the same time. We need to be selective and we need to be clear about the hierarchy between those strategies before we can ladder up to them effectively. Have a think about those that are most important and relevant to your transformation project and the relationship and hierarchy between them. Another benefit of this laddering up is that it allows us to take the good practice thinking in view around strategy before function, before structure. And that ensures that we don't jump to structural solutions, particularly in workforce transformations, and that we start with that broader strategic context, understand what that means for our operating model at a functional level, and then into the structural components, which should be the final piece of that enabling puzzle. So, the question for you to consider is, do you have clarity of the broader strategic context which your transformation is laddering up to?
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly Rose and I'm a partner at Cube Group. The next transformation success factor that I'll be talking about is the importance of having a big idea at the centre of your transformation. Our observation is that the most successful transformations have a big idea at their core that can help to communicate the positive change that the transformation will achieve. Centering this big idea creates clarity, buy-in, and a sense of purpose for the workforce and for other stakeholders who will be critical to bringing the transformation to life over what can sometimes be a multi-year journey. To give an example, in large-scale national reform programs, the idea at the centre is often about enabling personalised services, empowering communities, or improving outcomes for individuals. That kind of big idea gives the transformation direction and emotional resonance. Our question for you is, what is the big idea at the centre of your transformation that you are embarking on? And how will you communicate it to the workforce and to stakeholders?
Here's our next transformation success factor. A transformation is a project. It's a really important point. A transformation is a project. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. A transformation does not exist in perpetuity. That means we need to address and deliver this transformation as a project, just like we would manage projects in our personal lives. We need to scope it. We need to have a budget for it. We need to have a schedule for it. We need to think about the risks that are inherent in delivering this project. How are we going to resource it? Some of these things aren't exciting, but they are important project management disciplines that you really have to have in place if you want to manage a transformation project that's got many moving parts. One of the challenges when going down this project management path is being too purist about it. And that's where we can end up with a situation that's a bit like death by reporting, where the project management overlay we put in place is almost suffocating because we're taking a real compliance posture towards the project. Where's your risk register? Where's that schedule at? What's the critical path look like? Where's that budget that I asked for on Friday? Where's the status report? you've got to be really careful that you take an approach to project management that's enabling, that's supporting and empowering, and that strikes a balance between project management discipline, that is still really important, with supporting our people to be part of this transformation and deliver it well. An approach that reflects minimum viable bureaucracy, helping people practically to be part of this transformation project, get involved, be engaged, and do it well. So, the probing question for you to think about is, how are you bringing a project management mindset to the delivery of your transformation project?
The next transformation success factor that I'll talk to is don't underestimate the resource load and take steps to ease it. A common trait of failed transformations is an underestimation of the workload on operational resources who are asked to support and deliver transformation activities in addition to their day jobs. Unfortunately, some transformation program officers, or TPOs, often perpetuate this workload by adding enormous reporting workloads on operational teams. Things like scheduling, risk registers, and status reporting. Successful transformations, on the other hand, establish a TPO that takes a supportive or enabling posture, not a compliance posture, towards delivery teams, and works side by side with them to deliver transformation activities. Our question for you is, how can you take an enabling approach to working with other parts of your organisation to deliver the transformation?
This next transformation key success factor is about taking a one workforce approach to managing and involving people in your transformation project. What we often find in organisations is that there's a duality of workforce, and this happens in organisations in the public purpose sector right around Australia. In court settings, for example, we have judicial and non-judicial officers. In custodial settings, we have custodial and non-custodial officers. In emergency management settings, we have uniformed and non-uniformed personnel, and so on the list goes. In different organisations, there are different cohorts, different groups of employees, different groups of staff. And they've all got different vested interests in this transformation project, and they're often very passionate about the outcomes that they want to achieve for the organisation and for the community at large. If we don't engage with each of these groups sincerely, authentically, and meet them where they're at with their lived experience, ensuring that their voices are heard, they will disengage from the project, and the transformation very likely will fall over. That means we need to think through the different perspectives of those groups. What's most important to them? What matters to them in order to engage them with authenticity? It's so important to think about these different groups through their eyes, walk in their shoes, and engage them through a one workforce perspective. Don't preference one cohort over another. So the probing question for you is, how are you doing that? How are you thinking about the different internal groups within your teams, your organisation, those cohorts, and how will you meet them where they're at to ensure that their voices are equitably heard in this transformation?
The next transformation success factor that I'll talk to is about setting the table for senior level change. Another reason transformations fail is that when they get to crunch time, the vested interests of senior stakeholders block change. Transformations that succeed, on the other hand, are often characterised by senior leaders who understand and support the change that is likely to come to their patches and embrace the needs of the organisations ahead of their own roles or interests. Sometimes this can be related to the word transformation and how people interpret this word and what it means for them in the absence of clear messaging. For example, some people interpret the word transformation to mean downsizing, which is not always the case. This can create resistance from the outset. One way to guard against pushback here is to be clear at the outset about which parts of the organisation are in scope and to communicate transparently and openly the opportunities that the transformation presents, as well as being honest about the impact that it may have. Our question for you is, how can you articulate to senior stakeholders early on what the transformation will mean for them and their teams?
This next transformation key success factor is about the idea that you can't read the label when you're inside the jar, or put another way, outside-in thinking. Often when you're delivering a complex, fast-paced transformation project, you're head down and you're busy. This can create an echo chamber of sorts where you're not looking up and out and considering the different perspectives, listening to voices outside your immediate organisation. And as a result, you can have some confirmation bias that doesn't bring the critical thinking and the contest of ideas that is so important to make sure that you're delivering on a transformation that will truly make a difference. We often hear about this idea of consultation fatigue. And whilst, of course, that's a very real concept, it's also one that can be overplayed. It's not just about the volume of consultation that occurs, but it's about the way that you consult. If you make your consultation interesting, engaging, with energy, and think about what it means for the people you're engaging with, reach out to them and engage in ways that works for them, that fatigue will drop away and you'll be able to have surprisingly deep levels and volumes of engagement with key stakeholders outside your organisation. Organisations operate in complex ecosystems, and it requires a smart approach to prioritising and being thoughtful about the methods and the modes of engagement that you undertake to overcome consultation fatigue and reach people and connect with them where they're at. It's fundamental to the delivery of any strong transformation program. So, the question we'd like to ask you is, how are you looking out to bring diverse perspectives and thinking from individuals and organisations who have a critical and vested interest in the work that you're doing into your transformation project to deliver it more effectively?
The final transformation success factor is about the culture of the transformation. And here, it's helpful to be explicit about the way the transformation will embody the values of your organisation and your broader sector. That means it's vital that the culture the organisation is seeking to shape across both the sector and your organisation is embodied in the way the transformation is delivered. This mirroring of sector and organisational values will send cultural signals that support change efforts. Our question is, how can you align the transformation with your organisation's values?